And all the children. All right. Well, all right. I think they've got some energy. What a great group. Well, the important businessman arrived in London. He arrived there in the airport, and he ran out to the street, and he hailed and jumped into the first cab that he was able to hail, and he jumped in, he leaned forward, and he said, "Driver, step on it. I'm in a hurry. I'm going to a very important meeting. I cannot be late. Let's get going." So the cab driver stomped on the gas and took off down the London street. The very important businessman leaned back for a moment on the back seat, closed his eyes for just a moment, and every few seconds would open them just long enough to say, Is this as fast as this thing will go? Step on it, man." Finally, after several minutes, he opened his eyes and looked out the side window, and he said, "Where in the world are you taking me?" And the driver said, "I don't know, but I'm going very fast." There's a character in our story, as Patty alluded to, in our scripture reading that Ken shared with us today that has something in common with that important businessman. Very much in a hurry, very much busy, as she talked about. In fact, it's not Mary, it's Martha, right? We might even call her a Martha Stewart of biblical times, because her thing was hospitality, and it was bringing in this group and feeding them and thinking of all the details that needed to be taken care of. And so we have here the story, we might say, of Mary and Martha Stewart, only of biblical times. Let's consider together this morning what the Lord may have to say to us from this scripture passage. And Jesus does have a message for busy people from this passage today. Jesus has a message for busy people. Are you busy? Jesus has a message not just for busy people in general. He particularly has a message for busy servants, for busy fellow Christians, for busy followers of His. Busy servants, busy people. Jesus has a message from the biblical account of Mary and Martha for us today in the midst of our busyness. The first part of the message that He has for us today is a very direct statement. You are not Lord. You are not Lord. He says it to me and He says it to you in the midst of our busyness. He says it to those who are prone and apt to be far too busy far too often. You are not Lord. It's been said that pride is the only disease that makes everyone sick except the one who has it. The very name of Martha has, in its original language, the connotation of Lord, of a feminine word for master, of mistress, or we might say head mistress. Really, it's a connotation of Lord, Lord. And in this rather otherwise personal and home-oriented setting and passage, we see Jesus referred to as the Lord by the narrator. That's not really completely necessary in this passage, which I say is otherwise a home and hearth kind of setting, but juxtaposed or set off against the name of Martha, which has the connotation of Lord, is Jesus the Lord. The narrator intentionally refers to Him as the Lord. Martha seeks to manipulate those around her. And she is concerned with another's business in a judgmental way. You see, she seeks to, this one whose name has connotations with the word Lord, tries to manipulate those around her. She starts with Mary. She tries to manipulate Mary. Martha is concerned with Mary's business in a judgmental way, isn't she? And that's her problem. Is there anyone's business we're concerned with in a judgmental way right now? How might we speak to that in a colloquial, casual way. What sayings have you heard along those lines? Like maybe, "Get your long nose out of my business," or "Sweep your own doorstep." Martha even tries to manipulate Jesus, not satisfied with manipulating Mary, but tries to manipulate Jesus by demanding that he make Mary do what Martha wants. In the language used there by the writer, there is actually a demand that is involved in the telling of Jesus to tell her to help me. Even beyond that, Martha seeks to manipulate Jesus by using a veiled threat of perceived insensitivity. Don't you care? Don't you care that she has left me to do all the work myself? Implied, if you do care, you will tell her to help me. If you don't do my bidding, you will be perceived as uncaring. And aren't you kind of in the caring business? And that'll really be a black eye to your cause. So it's in your interest to do what I want you to do. So there is this veiled threat of perceived insensitivity that she uses to motivate him. It's a classic triangle technique. Person A seeks out person C to get person B to do person A's bidding. And sometimes it's individual people in a simplified kind of diagram, and sometimes it's a little more complicated with entities using one another in such a way. Well, Jesus doesn't play the triangle game very well. He's not interested in playing that game with Martha. He has a message for busy people, for Martha and for us today. And the first part of that message is, you are not Lord. You are not Lord. As we've heard said before, it's each day we need to resign from being the manager of the universe. We are not Lord. Martha isn't, and neither am I. She seeks to manipulate Mary and Jesus. Her name has connotations with the word Lord. What might it be that leads to Martha's manipulative Lord complex, if we may call it that? What's going on here with Martha? Why would she do such a thing? Why do we do such things